Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Burger. So it's that time again, it's Game of the Month on the Evercade VS from Indie Heroes Collection 2. We've got a new game to look at. Without further ado, let's get stuck into the video. Okay guys, before we jump into the sort of a game of the month, we're going to look at obviously there was a bit of bad news yesterday about the Evercade EXP, and obviously we're getting the good news straight after the bad news. That seems like a very political thing to do, sort of try and bury this bad news. So obviously we got some bad news that the Evercade EXP is getting its date release moved to December 15th. So it's about 3 weeks after it was originally due. Now it does say it's still going to ship globally on December 15th, so fingers crossed that still does happen. I'm obviously quite sceptical myself that it will happen globally, but I'm pretty sure they will deliver because they've been pretty consistent in the past. Consistent delays, yes, but they still consistently deliver at least. But anyway, now we're going to move on to the game of the month. And the game of the month is called Biss 2. Strange name. It's obviously got a very strange background to it as well. And there's a lot of information here. I'm not going to read it through it all. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to look at the background of the game. But clearly this is a NES game. It's a kind of a platforming style beat 'em up kind of thing. It's a single screen sort of beat 'em up, which I think is probably best played as a 2-player game, but you can play it as a 1-player game. It doesn't really matter. So it's called Biss 2. And it's coming on Indie Heroes Collection 2. Now this is game 8, I believe. 9 and 10 will probably come next month in December. But there's some information here that's probably quite important that's been buried in amongst all this text. And it's the fact that Indie Heroes Collection will not actually be releasing till early next year. Okay, as you can see here, there is a little bit here. I'm just going to highlight it so you can see it. That Evercade are not releasing Indie Heroes Collection till early next year. Now this was supposed to ship December, and this hasn't even been officially announced yet. They've just kind of snuck it in there, which I think is a little bit naughty. I think really they should have had an official announcement because we were expecting this in December. So not surprised really that this is sneaking into next year. With all the stuff that's going on with the EXP, it probably makes sense to probably push this out to maybe January or February. Fingers crossed it doesn't go any further than that, because ideally we want to start the year off with some carts and some game releases right away instead of waiting until maybe April, May time before we actually get releases. But obviously bad news, but in the same token, maybe it's some good news that we're getting a cart early next year in the form of Indie Heroes Collection 2. Not a surprise to me because we are at November and usually you would have had the pre-release and they're giving you a chance to actually pre-order the game by now. And the fact it's not happened and this now pushed till next year isn't a massive surprise. But yeah, there's a lot of information about Biss. It's really one of these games that never, Biss 1 never actually existed, but it was on ads in the back of magazines, so it wasn't really an actual game. A little bit of information there, but it's a bit strange. I'll leave that here. You can have a read at it. I'll leave the link in the description. You can read about it. It's basically a single screen sort of platformer beat 'em up style game. And you'll see here, it's most likely a NES version that we have. But yeah, there's a lot of information here. You need to update your Wi-Fi on your VS to be able to play this game through November. And that's really it. Without further ado, guys, let's get stuck into the game and see what it's actually like. Okay guys, once you've updated your firmware, you should be presented with Biss 2 as a game of the month for November 2022. And there's a little bit of information here if you've not already read up on it. You've got 2 controls, jump and attack, and you've got all the information here that talks about the game as being a kind of lost media. It was often advertised in the back of magazines in the 80s, but never actually existed as a game. Yet here we have the sequel to a game that never actually existed. Kind of strange. The graphic style is kind of 8-bit. Not entirely sure it's actually NES, but it does look very NES-like, especially with all the flickering that you will see. Without further ado, let's play the game. So, it's made in collaboration with John Riggs and programming by Mega Cat Studios. You've got the option here to play as a different character. It doesn't change the gameplay at all. You can also play it as a 2-player game. And just beware, there's a lot of flashing here as well in some of the games, and a little bit of colour clashing with some of the graphics. So your basic premise here is to clear all the enemies that appear on the screen within the time limit, and that is basically it. You obviously got some pick 'em ups. The evil monsters, whatever they are, will probably drop some items here and there, some things like hearts, extra life, some time, extra time to be added, and even some other features like stopping the clock. But you see here, you've got a count at the top. You've got 2 more monsters to kill within the time limit. Time limit's counting down 28 seconds, and then that's you cleared the level. On the left hand side of the screen, you've got how many hits you get. You start with 5 and 3 lives, so sounds pretty simple so far, but it does get pretty tricky. And what doesn't help here is the graphics, I feel, are just a little bit of a colour clash, because there you can't actually see that those things are spikes. You see at the bottom left and bottom right, there's spikes right in the middle of the screen. Now you don't even know you've hit them. The only reason you know that you've hit these spikes is your character actually flashing and you lose a life, but you can't actually tell. I think it loses a little bit of impact. It would have been better if the sound was better and it kind of flashed up that you've lost a life. You can't actually tell. So the graphics do clash a bit. I feel there's too much orange and purples here, and sometimes it was actually hurting my eyes playing this on a bigger TV. I'm not sure how this will work on a handheld either. It might be a little bit tricky to see or play. You know, it's okay. I'm not really sure there's a lot of depth here. Even playing as a 2-player game, it might be more fun playing as a 2-player game, but you're not necessarily in competition with each other. You're really just helping each other out to clear the enemies on the screen. And the levels do get a little bit trickier as you go. You obviously get less time, more enemies, that kind of thing. But I don't really know what your character is. The character kind of looks like a Santa Claus character with some kind of zapper. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Might have been better holding this back to Christmas and releasing it as a secret game instead of it being on a cart, because I really don't think it's got enough value in it to be actually included on the cart, in my opinion. But interestingly enough, this game is available on Steam Store, and it's actually £7.19. So if you think about that on an Indie Heroes collection, that sounds like really good value for money. However, I don't think this is a game that's worth £7.19. It's pretty basic. It's really one that you should be picking up for free, or even for £1 or £2 at most. I don't really think anyone would want to pay that for this type of game. It's very basic, there's not a lot going on, and it definitely, I think, brings down the overall quality that we've seen on Indie Heroes collection, especially if you think of the game that was last month, which was Top Drawer Game, along with Tapeworm as well, which is absolutely brilliant. Overall, so far, I think Indie Heroes Collection 2 has been a little bit disappointing so far. I don't think this is a game that you're going to come back to. It'll be a one quick play maybe, and that's you done. I don't think many people want to come back and play this continuously. However, you may want to play it as a high score chaser. That might actually bring some value to it, or as maybe a 2-player game. But as a single player game, it's pretty dull, pretty repetitive, and yeah, it hurts my eyes playing this game. So you can also play as the other character, but it doesn't actually change the gameplay at all. You can see it still looks like Santa Claus. The only thing that's kind of changed is the fact that you've got a kind of different zapper thing. It looks like a laser gun that's letting out some O's. I don't know what's going on there, but that's basically it. I don't know, so it'd be nice if the character was a different colour perhaps, rather than another purpley red colour. Yeah, and that's it. So you can also play the game as a two-player game. However, you're not in competition with each other, which I think is probably a missed opportunity here. It would have been far more fun to actually be in competition with the two characters. You can see both characters are either red or purple. Total colour clash, can't see a blinking thing. Obviously I'm only playing single player, just doing this as an example. And I think you're really just helping each other out, clearing the enemies. That's basically it. Probably a missed opportunity, but you might have more fun the further on you go into the levels. It does get harder, so playing as two-player might actually make the game more fun and easier to play. Anyway guys, that's the game of the month. A little bit disappointing for me. It's really a step back in quality. It's not one I'm going to come back and play very often. But it is what it is. I think it would have been better off as a secret game, maybe unlockable on the VS or the new EXP that's coming up. But it is what it is. Thanks for watching guys, catch you in the next one. Bye for now.